This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Score Energy Drinks, MChem 24-hour Pharmacy and Dulux Maitland. Hello everybody, it's Cape Rugby TV time. As you know, it's every Wednesday and we bring you the very best of what's happening in the world of West Bromwich Club Rugby. Welcome aboard and nice to have you join us. Right, tonight we're going to take a look at ladies rugby. As we promised, we would focus a little bit on women's development, and tonight we'll highlight the match between Tygerberg ladies and Busy Bees ladies team, as well as a couple of interviews from the Tygerberg coaches and captains, as well as the Busy Bees captains and coaches. And then, of course, Hamadias is back on the park. They were up against Gardens, who I would hesitant to say that they are probably debutants in Western Province Club Rugby. But big thanks, of course, to our partners on board with Cape Rugby TV, MChem 24-hour Pharmacy on the corner of N1 and Durban Road, Dulux Maitland at number 30 Coburg Road, and, of course, Score Energy Drinks. And you can win yourself a case of Score a little bit later, so don't go anywhere. Let me introduce you to my panel this evening. Jerome Parwater. Nice back.
Yeah, JP, good to be back after a busy few weeks, but it's always good to be back and talk to the people about club rugby.
Yeah, well, if you think it's finished, we believe that it's not finished for you. Your work's even getting more hectic.
Yeah, now I'm starting with the under-21s again,
Yeah.
and we play on Friday against the Bulls at Loftus, so from the one competition to the another one. But for us in Western Province, JP, you know, it doesn't stop.
Looks like the hopes and dreams are in your hands. Faisal Sultan, hello Fali.
Good evening, James.
Nice to have you here.
Yeah, as always, good to be here. Yeah, it's been a while.
You look warmly dressed.
Very cold. I think the good thing is not being out there at practices. I feel for the guys that are out there, the back at training and that. So yeah, it's nice to be home under the blankets.
Do you remember the days when you used to play in a long sleeve rugby jersey?
The old cotton traders,
yes,
woolly ones, and no, those were the days and that. Yeah, I don't know if you cherish it, but yeah, I think the short sleeve, tight fitting now, I don't know if it still keeps you warm, but you miss those days.
Well, I suppose nowadays with so much running and cardio activity, Jerome, you manage to stay warm in the park.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's all sorts of things guys do before the game to get warm, and then afterwards in a hot shower, then you're ready to go again.
Yeah, there's even some things the guys do after the game to keep warm.
Yeah,
but we're not
they
going to
use
talk
all
about
the
that.
supplements.
I think it's before the games that the frog walks and the duck walks and the 3 laps around the field. I think we missed those days.
Yeah. All right, folks. As I said earlier on, Tygerberg up against Busy Bees. We'll take a look at women's rugby. Of course, Hamadias up against Gardens this week. So those are our 2 features matches. And Faisal, tonight we're going to have a little chat about the Non-Fulfillment League, the NFD. I think a lot of people are curious about how that works and the new structure within Western Province.
Yeah, no, I think it's exciting times. I think it's definitely something that a lot of the clubs are looking for, and I think a lot of the clubs have been very positive about it. I definitely think, going forward in that, I think it should be a very exciting league, and some good ideas that clubs have come up with as well.
Well, we'll cover some of that during the course of the show. So, folks, don't go anywhere. A lot of information coming your way this evening. Right, let's catch up first then with the match highlights. Of course, that Ravensmead, Florida Park, the home of Tygerberg, was the Tygerberg women's rugby side up against the Busy Bees women's rugby side. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Score Energy Drinks, MChem 24-hour Pharmacy and Dulux Maitland. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Score Energy Drinks, MChem 24-hour pharmacy, and Dulux Maitland. Right, welcome back everybody. Tygerberg ladies up against Busy Bees ladies. Let's start with the rugby on the field action first. Jerome, Busy Bees seems to be putting on a pretty good performance.
Yeah, they look very physical and strong, JP, and it seems like the Tygerberg ladies struggle a bit to tackle them. And what Busy Bees are doing well now in this first half, they offload in the tackle, and there's always a support runner. So they look like a well-coached side.
Faisal, let's speak to you. Women's rugby, we haven't had much coverage of women's rugby, but we, of course, have been monitoring the trials. We certainly haven't had much content relating to the clubs. We've been focusing on the Western Province women's side, and they've had trials against Boerland, and I think this week they go to Nelspruit to play in the against the Bulls. That'll be the start of their IPT, their interprovincial tournament. How's women's club rugby doing?
Definitely, JP. I think it's taken off this year in the sense that we've had a lot more teams. I think from Samuel Malati, who's driving it, and that, and also from our side, with the club rugby working a lot closer. We've tried to increase the amount of teams. We've managed to increase it, with 4 additional teams or clubs that's involved. I think from the club side, we need to understand. I think from the union, the support is there. The club, we need the numbers, we need the goals. People interested that would like to play. I think definitely, the 4 teams that have come on board, Macassar, Esterrefier, CPUT, they're enjoying the rugby. I think there's a big buy-in and support from Macassar Rugby Club, and also from Esterrefier and that there. So we would like to see a lot more clubs.
So how many clubs have we got in Western Province playing women's rugby?
At the moment, we've got 8 clubs that's participating and playing. With the universities.
Is it in the hands of the clubs to create a women's team?
Definitely, I think, Japes, if you look at the areas and that, I think our target is the communities and the various areas. The difficulty now that we're finding a lot of girls having to travel to get to a club to play. I think where we're going is we would like to look at areas and try and link up the junior structures. I think Western Province, we saw from the results yesterday and the day before, are quite strong in the junior setup, but we find that we lose a lot of the ladies when we move over to senior rugby. So I think with Sammy, driving now with the regions under 19, I think that's more where the focus is, trying to look at the link between juniors and seniors is the under 19 competition.
Yeah. All right, folks, we managed to, of course, speak to the captains and coaches from Tygerberg and Busy Bees. We'll start off with the captain, at least the coach of Tygerberg, Patrick Engelbrecht, and ladies captain Alicia Willemse. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Score Energy Drinks, MChem 24-hour pharmacy, and Dulux Maitland.
Het is altyd tough as ons Busy Bees speel. Hulle is vir die afgelope 2 jaar is hulle die kampioene. Maar soos ek sê, ons het tweede geëindig laas jaar en hulle is eintlik ons grootste kompetisie. Ek dink hulle was 'n beter span, hulle was beter, bietjie meer equipped, kommunikasie was 'n bietjie reg. So dis altyd lekker om rugby te speel teen hulle of enige opponent. Ek dink die game time is nog al 'n bietjie min. Want jy weet omdat ons so min spanne in hierdie kompetisie is, en baie van die girls, ewen van die ander klubs oefen by WP, kry jy baie min kans om te speel. So wanneer jy kom speel en dan probeer jy maar die spel geniet. So ons speel 'n bietjie min rugby. Ons het die afgelope tyd baie min rugby gespeel. Maar as ons speel dan kom die girls om die game te geniet en ook te leer van die game.
Het was regtig baie tough. Busy Bees het regtig uitgekom om te wen, maar ons het ook gewys ons kan dit gee as ons het net 'n bietjie lack of commitment, nie commitment nie, ook maar communication ook gewees. Ons speel, daar's 'n paar meisies wat vir WP speel, maar ons kom ook om die game te geniet, nie net by WP te speel, maar ook ons klub te verteenwoordig in WP span. Tygerberg is 'n groot klub, so ons voel ons kom uit as stiere, ons geniet dit. Dit is eintlik, daar is baie kompetisie in die span. Met die 5 spanne wat daar is daar baie kompetisie, maar ons kom uit, ons geniet dit, ons die beste maak van die game. Van vroue rugby groei nie eintlik soos ons dit wil hê nie, maar ons kom uit om dit te geniet.
Well, welcome back, folks. Cape Rugby TV. Remember, if you want to win yourself a case of Score Energy Drinks, 33090, the short code, just send them the word SCORE to 33090. We'll take a look at the last week's competition winner in a second or so. Right, as we mentioned earlier on, we're looking at women's rugby today, and we'll, of course, a little bit later be taking a look at Hamadias up against Gardens. We'll see what happened in that match. But let's catch up now with the second half highlights from Tygerberg up against Busy Bees women's rugby. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Score Energy Drinks, MChem 24-hour pharmacy, and Dulux Maitland. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Score Energy Drinks, MChem 24-hour pharmacy, and Dulux Maitland. All right, looks like we're seeing some running rugby there, Jerome.
Yeah, both sides. It's so a good try from Tygerberg there. The ladies showed some great pace.
Yeah.
But I just think the Busy Bees ladies keep on going. Good skills, big and strong ladies there. I think lots of teams would love to have some size like that. But I think Busy Bees are just too strong.
Faisal, how much practice time do we get? We heard the coaches there talking about they would like to see themselves playing more games. But are the ladies practicing as much and as often as the men?
No, definitely practicing as often. I think I concur, with the coach there. I think we need to have a lot more game time, a lot more teams in the league. At the moment, currently, like I said earlier on, we've got 8 clubs. But the challenge is you've got new clubs that have come on board. You don't want to mix them, with the guys like the likes of Busy Bees and Tygerberg and the stronger teams and that have been playing for some time. So they play sort of in a B section.
Yeah.
So hopefully, next year with the teams that are playing the B, some of them will probably move up, to that A section where they can measure themselves.
Who are your traditionally strong women's sides?
Well, look, you've got Blue Jets, you've got Tygerberg, that's in the mix. A lot of players playing the provincial setup. You've got Busy Bees, UWC is also in the mix there.
Yeah.
Those are, generally speaking, your top sides and that there in the women's rugby. But I must say, from a point of training and that there, those girls give 110%. They training. I think a lot of them are training more than some of the men actually, because they train on the Monday. They're at the Western Province training, and then Tuesday, Thursdays they're back at the clubs and at the for training.
Also busy schedule.
Yeah, no, definitely and at there.
All right, well, let's catch up with the Busy Bees ladies coach, Siyabonga Hani. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Score Energy Drinks, MChem 24-hour pharmacy, and Dulux Maitland.
It was a great game, great weather, great field. The girls enjoyed it from both sides. Playing Tygerberg, it's a big club, so you come prepared. We had 3-4 weeks of preparing for this game, and we came prepared, well prepared. We are fortunate as a club because we have a development side, and we try at all time to infuse our development side. We have Vusa, that is a feeder of BZB, both men and women. So we are fortunate, and we are using that as a feeder for both genders, right? When you go to BZB, we have got 2 Springboks who didn't play in this game, who are part of the Springbok camp now. So they are more professional than the men's side. So there's an exchange, there's more of an exchange relationship between the men and the women, because we want to keep a structure. This is BZB Rugby that you saw today. We want to keep that structure, so that brand must be something that must be benchmarked in all teams. If you go to under 16, under 15, under 14, even the young boys at under 11, they must play the same brand of rugby that we play. So that's why this type of rugby, it's something that does not resonate from me, but it's something that is in the club, is the culture of the club.
This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Score Energy Drinks, MChem 24-hour pharmacy, and Dulux Maitland. All right, folks, Siyabonga Hani, they're, of course, coach at Busy Bees. Faisal, he talks a lot there about the culture of rugby at Busy Bees. He seems to have, and he talks about the fact that there's 2 Springbok players that are not even playing at the moment. So that's great to know that we've got some not just women's rugby playing only in the club structures, but they're coming through the ranks into the provincial structures, into a national level, which is quite impressive because there's quite a lot of women's rugby around the country. So we're doing quite well in terms of the development stage. But it does seem to me that his job is a little bit easier because of this history of rugby, legacy of rugby that is inherited.
No, definitely. I think, Busy Bees have a rich culture and heritage in that there. I think, if you look at the junior structures in that there, I always say to, I think, Mr. Kiwana, you'll see they're very proud of the club, and, everything is Busy Bees and that there, which is great. And I think that's what we want. We want to see the communities take pride, in the club and that. And I think, Siyabonga, you can see he's very passionate. I've seen him at the games. He's very involved, very vocal. I always say his best dress. They're very, the image of the club and that. And I think that's great to see. The club is always put ahead of everything else and that. And I think with that attitude and that mindset, I think with the whole club, I think you'll definitely see a lot more girls coming through, a lot more players coming through. I think in the junior structures, both men and girls, Busy Bees is always a club that it's a breeding ground for players and that. So definitely lots more to come from them.
Jerome, how important is it for a coach not to upset the apple cart, so to speak? Once you inherit a team, you inherit a club, you want to try and keep that culture. You don't want to reinvent everything.
That was very good of him, saying that from under 11, there is a culture in the club, in the way they want to play, and then everybody support that. So it's good that because normally you get coaches in, they try to change the whole culture of the club.
Yeah.
The club has been there and they've been doing it, and that's their culture, that's their DNA.
Yeah.
Then you can't change it. But many times guys come and they think they're smart, they can change it, but just to see at the end of the season that they were not successful. But because you don't change anybody's DNA, so that is good of him.
But don't we see that sometimes with clubs that are maybe relegated, or maybe don't do so well on the log? New management or new coaches, and then trying to reinvent everything. I don't know, Faisal, you can maybe jump in there as well. If you want a club to be successful, you've got to first and foremost build on your community and your culture.
No, definitely. I think you've got to stick with what works for you. I think if you look at Busy Bees in the off season, myself, Jerome, we've been out there at the training sessions and that. There's definitely potential in that. I think it's a little bit here and there that you would tweak, but the basis of the club is what you stick with. It works for them. It's put them where they are. I think from their side, if you look at under 11 all the way up until seniors, you'll see the same brands, same type of structures and that they're playing. And I think also it's got a lot to do with what the club has. I think in general, the key factors there, the coaches, they're servicing not only one division, they're having to do other divisions, so you find that brand coming through and that there. So
I always look at it in the sense of think of yourself as a restaurant. Restaurants survive firstly on the locals. If you think about like a restaurant or a local spot, your business is generated, and the way that you survive is first and foremost on the locals, the people who live in the area. They are the ones that will come there on a regular basis. They'll spend their money and they'll come and be your patrons.
Yeah.
Clubs need to treat it like that. You need to, and if you think about a restaurant, why do people come back? They come back, and why do the locals keep supporting? Because they know where to sit, they know the feel, they know the food, they know what's on the menu. That's your tradition, that's your culture. I don't know, Jerome, you can also jump in here, but like, you don't want to reinvent the menu from scratch. You don't want to change the seats and everything. You want to first and foremost look after your locals and keep some of your elements that work for you the same. And so if you get relegated, or if you're not doing well on the log, you've got to look first at where are my locals.
I think, JP, that you're right on that. That's the strength of a club is the locals and that, the support in that. And I think, you know, where club strives is about the community, and I think the involvement of the community. I think what we firstly you've got to understand is what is the purpose of a club. You know, providing access to rugby, to sport in that community. It's about that community and the buy-in of that community. I think not also only on the field, but also off the field, the supporters. That's about growing the club. And if you look at Busy Bees, you always find there's a huge following of support, you know, generations of future players coming through, the buy-in, you know, of these guys, you know, the younger generation into the club and that there. So definitely, I think, you know, if you look at teams on the top whereby it's based on the performance and the you know, the winning aspect, you're finding that the players are not part of really of their community, whereas these communities and that there, you're finding a lot of these guys are from that community, from the area and that there. So definitely, you know, that's the way to go.
Locals first, and survival of the club. Club first, as you know, club first always. Make sure the club survives. In fact, for those of you that are not aware, we have, of course, launched the Club First program, which is for people who are supplying local business services to clubs. You can just register on our website, and then people can find support services from your club. Let's catch up now with Busy Bees ladies captain, Sandiswa Kozwa. She's, of course, captain there at Busy Bees, and certainly leading from the front. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Score Energy Drinks, MChem 24-hour pharmacy, and Dulux Maitland.
Okay, the game was cool, was fine, and thank you to Tagaback. We trained together. I don't know them so much. I hardly know them. I just met them this year, and it's good to be with them. It's good to be with them. I really enjoy. I feel like I've been with them since day one. We played together. We played as a team. And I thank them a lot.
Well, welcome back, everybody. It's Cape Rugby TV. As you know, then, of course, a lot of the teams have just are getting back into action. Of course, there were no matches in Super League A, B, and C over the last weekend. So a lot of the teams also returning from action after various breaks. And currently, at the moment, in fact, the students, the universities are on a break. So everyone's having a turn to take a break. Hamadias is back in action, and of course, looks like they're going to be threatening in the City League, as is Violet. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the logs and the teams that potentially are on the cards for the City League. Gardens, of course, back in action, making their, I don't know if you would call it a debut, but we'll have a chat about that in a second. But let's take a look at the first half. Hamadias up against Gardens. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Score Energy Drinks, MChem 24-hour pharmacy, and Dulux Maitland. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Score Energy Drinks, MChem 24-hour pharmacy, and Dulux Maitland. Right, welcome back, folks. So just looking at the log, and I'm looking on the mobile app, the Cape Rugby TV mobile app. Masi Pumulele are now sitting at number 1 on the City League. They've played 8 matches. Hamadeers already sitting at number 2 after 8 matches after the break. We're looking at the first half already. Hamadeers are leading 7-0 there. Jerome, your opinion?
JP, I must say, both sides. There's some good guys, some big guys there. Faisal, guys looking safe in from both sides in that first half that I see, from defense and from attack. It seems like they know what they were doing, because the guys off the ball, they work hard, they're in position, and it's just if they play wide, you can see what they want to play. So well done to both coaches there, JP, and as I said, they must have done something with their conditioning. They look great, the guys.
When you see a score like that, Jerome, you see the result, a halftime score 7-0. It means it was a tough game, close game. When we see big scores, that maybe indicates a lack of attack, lack of defense. But when 7-0, obviously defense.
It's the defense, JP. But you can only defend well if you condition well, and that's why I say I could see that there are 2 teams there that they evenly met, and they look in shape, and yeah, it's and you can see like both of them attack, but they have a defensive system. They know where they want to play. They know where they want to attack. Yeah. So it's quite even.
All right, folks, before we go to look at the second half, let's first catch up with the Gardens coach, of course, Mark Schrijker, and their captain, Cruz France. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Score Energy Drinks, MChem 24-hour pharmacy, and Dulux Maitland.
Look, it's going well. We've won 4, before today, we won 4 out of 5 games. This is now our second defeat of the season, but I mean, it's a new club. We started with absolutely no players at the beginning of the season. Now we have 130 players on our books. So we're recruiting. It's a building phase for us. So yeah, it's under the circumstances, I think it's going okay. Look, I don't think it's an insurmountable task for us to make the top 3, because we're playing 4 games at home. The next 4 games are all at home. We're playing Violets at home. So if we win the next 4 games at home, remember, Hamadeers must still play Masi. They still need to play Violets as well. So we have every chance of ending in the top 3 still. But our destiny is still in our hands. We have to make it happen.
As jy maklik om uit te speel. As jy maklik om weg te speel van hom af. En Hamadeers was meer lus vir die game gewees. En hy seker hier doen kom hulle game gewees. Op 'n dag wen rugby, maar hulle het gewys hulle kan speel en oor so 'n bietjie. So discipline was hier op die systeem net en hulle het gedoen wat ons gepreek het. Ek kan nie moed verloor nou en na die verloor nie, because ons het nog 4 games wat ons nou gaan speel hom. So ons moet begin nou, die was eintlik vir ons 'n toets gewees.
This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Score Energy Drinks, MChem 24-hour pharmacy, and Dulux Maitland. Right, well, there certainly looks like there's a lot of strategizing there. Hamadeers leading Gardens 7-0 at the halftime there. Gardens coach Mark Schrijker, Jerome, talking there quite a lot about the fact that they're making life difficult for themselves. So they're obviously thinking already about the top 3. They're thinking about which games they need to win, and they know that Violence is going to be challenging them.
Yeah, it's good to see Mark. He obviously done his homework. He knows exactly who Hamadeers must still play, who they must play. Yeah. So it's good to see that they're serious about this. I mean, if you as a coach plan so far in ahead in what you need to do, how many games the other team and who they have to play and who you have to play, it's good management of the coach. So he obviously can give their players feedback and tell them exactly where they want to be in the next 3 games.
Yeah, Faisal, if you look at that, City League looks like it's pretty tight. If you look at just how competitive it is, Young Ideas, Violets, Gardens, all these teams are in the mix to make it into the top 3.
No, definitely, James. I think, I always sometimes get the flack if you look at the competition, look at the format, why don't the union change, why don't you look at strength versus strength? But I think if you look at the logs, and I think if you look at the quality of rugby, as Jerome said early on, it doesn't matter what league or where you're playing, it's up to the club, the right approach. And as I said early on, is that, the clubs there are all competitive, and it's great to see that you know, the top three, anybody can take it. And
Yeah.
I think up until the last game, anybody can take it. I wouldn't want to start making predictions as to which games we have to win, which games we don't have to win. I think at the end of the day, on the day, you need to play to win you know, in the league and get into the top three.
Yeah, well, anyone who reads Danny's desk every week will realize that when you look through the logs, just how much is up for grabs. Everything is so close in terms of statistics and the log, especially Super League B. But I'm looking at the City Leagues and the Super League C's as well, and it's the same story. Anyway, we'll talk more about that in a second, folks. We're going to take an ad break. When we come back from the break, we'll take a look at the second half between Ahmadiyya's and Gardens. And just a reminder for those of you that want to win yourself a case of Score 33090, 33090, and you put yourself in the mix to win a case of Score. Just SMS the word SCORE to 33090. Congratulations to last week's winner, Michael Davids. Michael, somebody from Cape Rugby TV is going to be in touch with you shortly, and you'll walk away with a case of Score energy drinks. Folks, when we come back from the break, Ahmadiyya's and Gardens, second half. Right, welcome back, everybody. Well, it certainly looks like the logs are going to get tight. And in the next few weeks, we're going to be talking about where the clubs are on the logs, and I think there's going to be so many different permutations about where things stand. But anyway, Ahmadiyya's up against Gardens over the weekend. Let's take a look at the final half, the second half, Ahmadiyya's against Gardens. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Score Energy Drinks, MChem 24-hour pharmacy, and Dulux Maitland. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Score Energy Drinks, MChem 24-hour pharmacy, and Dulux Maitland. Right, Ahmadiyya's 20 points to 5 over Gardens there. Jerome, I was looking at the smile on your face while I was watching that second half.
Yeah, no, I just see like what I like a big guy running hard and get over the advantage line and still manage to get an offload. That's rugby, JP, and that's what you want to see. Getting over the advantage line, make that offload. Don't go place the ball and somebody can still steal the ball.
But now here's the interesting thing: Ahmadiyya's hasn't played rugby for about 8 weeks. I don't know, Faisal, how long has the break been?
Yeah, 4 weeks. 4 weeks. Yeah.
5 weeks that Ahmadiyya's hasn't been on the park.
Guys are hungry.
And
It doesn't look like that, JP. And as I say, they look lean, and though they big, but they look strong and lean.
Yeah. So I mean, Faisal, it goes to show you can still keep your skills polished even during a break, provided you keep the players busy. You've got to bring them to the field, you've got to do the conditioning, you've got to do the practice sessions, break or no break, buys or no buys, you can stay on top of your game.
I think it's merely the management of the players, and also from a club and the coach's side, having some sort of plan. And I think if you look at the guys when they speak, and that there is plans in place as to how to win the league and how to get in the top 9. So, I definitely think the guys are doing their homework, and you can see it on the field.
Yeah, well, let's find out more about their performance on the field and how they're doing as a club. We'll speak to Coach Hashim Samsudin. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Score Energy Drinks, MChem 24-hour pharmacy, and Dulux Maitland.
From Ahmadiyya's side, we've put a lot of emphasis in the fast. I mean, it was a 4-week break. But we've had additional training sessions over the weekends during the fast, late hours. So this is a combination of a lot of yards, self-discipline by our players, and at the end of the day, you can see it's actually our fitness that pulled us through. It's all due to our players and their efforts that they put in. Look, from the community rugby perspective, there's very little between the teams. So at the end of the day, what we try and do is we look at our strengths, we work on our strengths, and we looked at we saw a couple of the guys were blowing a bit harder than usual, and we just try to up the tempo, take the game away from them, and work on the small little things that we can control within our play. Look, from our side, we've set ourselves a goal for this year, getting into the promotion league. I think I don't know if the City League has been as closely fought. There's about 4 or 5 teams that can make it still into the top 3. We do what we can. I think we've given ourselves a very good springboard today to take it into the rest of the season. So we're taking it game by game, and we're not getting ahead of ourselves. But we are looking at the log, and we try and basically just do what we can from our side.
This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Score Energy Drinks, MChem 24-hour pharmacy, and Dulux Maitland. Right then, folks, Hashim Samsudin. Faisal, very quickly, because we're starting to run tight on time now. Clearly, the discussion that Hashim spoke about now was not much about the game itself on the day, but all about the fact that during the break, they managed to keep their players busy.
No, definitely, James, as I said earlier on, I think the upper hand is that training and the conditioning of those players. I mean, 4 weeks, 5 weeks without rugby, if you come back and there's no planning, no preparation, you're going to have a long, hard season ahead. Yeah. But I think, kudos both clubs. I think Ahmadiyya's as well, the off-season, the week's training and that there, you can clearly see it on the day. That's what pulled him through. Yeah.
Right, folks. Abdurrahim Berdin is, of course, captain at Ahmadiyya's. Let's find out his feelings on the game and how things are going at Ahmadiyya's. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Score Energy Drinks, MChem 24-hour pharmacy, and Dulux Maitland.
It was tough being the first game after Ramadan, but I think it was the same for Gardens as well. But the guys really fronted up on defense. We're a bit rusty, I think, on attack, which is natural. But good effort from the guys in the India. Physically, I think it's a big challenge. And obviously not able to train as effectively and as often as we do usually. But it's fine. The guys aren't lazy to work. So when we come back, after Ramadan, we put in some hard work here. So I think we expected them to come hard in the beginning. But like I said, the guys put in a lot of effort during Ramadan and just after, so we kind of expected to outlast them in the end, and that's how it turned out. We had a tough season last season, but I think in life sometimes you need a knock to just help you reassess and put in the extra effort. So I think that small sacrifice last year, the tough season that we did have, bodes well for how we've been performing this season.
This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Score Energy Drinks, MChem 24-hour pharmacy, and Dulux Maitland. Right, some admirable comments there from Abdurrahim, just talking about the fact that things didn't go well last season, but they've used that as a building block and drew some positives out of there. Folks, we're going to say goodbye to Jerome Parvat now. Jerome's been on the show with us during the course of the evening. Unfortunately, has to leave to get to I think you've got to get to an aeroplane tonight, Jerome. Just quickly, your plans for the weekend. You're busy now with the under-21s, and you guys take on the Bulls this weekend.
Yeah, JP, taking on the Bulls at Friday at Loftus. It's the start of the under-21 21 competition. In this year the format changed, so it's a double round for the under 21. So
What is a double round? Just quickly explain that to us.
last year we only have a single round, so only one round of playing rugby, so you have to be on top of your game to make the playoffs.
So does that mean, when you say double round, you mean home and away?
Home and away, yeah.
And again home and away?
Yeah, home and away. So the last year was just, if you play the Bulls away, you don't get them home. So, so now
this time it's twice.
This time we played them luckily first away, and then the second round we played them at home. So that's how it is, JP. From the Super Sport Challenge to the under 21 now, it doesn't stop. So, and I was fortunate, JP, because we used a lot of the under 21 guys to prepare them for this under 21 competition in the Super Sport Challenge. And also this year, I don't know, a lot of people don't know, this year I've played with 14 guys also played from the club structure, played in the Super Sport Challenge.
I think that's very impressive. The fact that you're bringing club guys into the ranks, I think people need to know that.
Yeah, and we were successful. We were the only
unbeaten
sort of bigger union. We were the only big union. The Bulls, the Lions, and the Sharks didn't play in the semi-finals. So we're the only. So again, it's just what Faisal, the club rugby players that we have there. So we don't have to be afraid to play these guys, and hopefully we can build on them for next year. So guys, the club guys there were one guy who played for me, played 3 games. And at his club, Faisal, they said to him, you're just going to hold bags there, so why do you still go there? That guy keep on coming, and he ended up playing 3 games for me.
Wow.
All right, we're going to have to cut it there. We're going to have to catch up with you next week, hopefully, Jerome, if you're back, and find out more about the stories around the Super Sport Challenge, moving into the under-21s, and of course how the club guys are doing in your ranks. So we'll catch up with you next week.
Thanks, JP.
Right, folks, as you know, Cape Rugby TV, of course, promotes all club rugby, and you are all welcome to send us your posters that tells us about your games or your activities, and we will hopefully share that. Of course, you've got to follow those terms and conditions. Anyway, not that we're really big on that. We just kind of share whatever we can. One of the posters that came in this weekend is, of course, the golf day out at Vineyards. Vineyards sent us a poster. It's the National Vineyards Golf Day. It's their 75th fundraiser. That's this coming Sunday, 30th of June. Lots of prizes up for grabs. 4 balls are, of course, available. It's 1,600 Rand for a 4-ball. It's a 4-ball, better ball, stable fit competition. And, of course, sponsored there by National Security and Sport SA. Right, those are your, that's your information for the 4-ball out at Vineyards this coming weekend. So 4-ball, better ball, stable fit. For those of you that are golfers, you'll know what that means. Right, folks, when we come back after the break, we'll catch up with Faisal Felton. He's going to just give us a little bit more information about this new league within Western Province, the NFD. We'll see you after the break. Well, welcome back to everybody, Cape Rugby TV. Right, let's get straight into it. Faisal, there's been a lot of talk about the NFD, the Non-Fulfillment League. This is currently something that's happened at Western Province. Maybe just run us through it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say non-fulfillment league. We call it the non-league. I think, for better terms than that. I think it's an exciting league, JP. I think I've met with the clubs. Everybody's very positive about it.
But let's just start at the beginning. Where does this come from? This is teams maybe that don't have the depth of a Marties or a Hands and Hearts, that type of thing?
I think it's, the reality has hit a lot of the clubs, and the challenges have hit a lot of the clubs financially. You look at, like we spoke about earlier, community clubs, players going to other clubs and that there. So you're sitting with a number of communities whereby there's a challenge, when it comes to numbers, when it comes to finances and that there. So this so-called non-league is focused more on these clubs whereby there's not so much a pressure to have 3 teams.
Right.
So the focus is on 2 teams. So
so it's as simple as that. It's really about the teams that are, the club's still going to be there. The club's not getting killed off. You're just changing the criteria, so to speak. And because the criteria in the past has been you have to field 3 games, and in some cases you have to field 3 teams plus an under-21s. So this is for the clubs who have the depth of guaranteed first and second team.
Yeah, I think according to our competition format and the rules, it says you've got to have 3 teams. I think, the focus now is on you having 2 teams and having to build. So there's less pressure. I think when it comes to competitions, a lot of the clubs, you're having to play fixtures and you rock up and there's no team. I think we feel for these clubs, as I said earlier on, the focus of the union is to provide access to rugby. So, we want to ensure that the communities, there is still rugby available. And the reality is we've got 2 teams. So meeting with these clubs has been great. And I think it's definitely very positive. And I think it's definitely something that going forward will definitely work. The suggestions coming from the clubs have been, having 3 clubs play at one venue, for instance. I think it's definitely like moving towards a festival rugby and that.
Okay, so these clubs can get back into the other leagues once they have a 3rd team?
Definitely, they can come back. It's up to the club. I think the basis of this is setting the foundation for the club. So
now obviously the growth of these clubs has to be around the marketing that club players can come and join the club.
Definitely, JP. I think the focus is not so much on the rugby, it's off the field that we need to focus on. So from the running of the club, the administration, the marketing, how to draw players, and the great thing is there's no pressure on the club.
Well, let's quickly take a look at the names of the clubs so folks know who we're talking about, right? So Perseverance, Young Brothers, Temperance and Cities, and both of course Perseverance and Temperance Cities play off out of City Park. Khayelitsha, Silverleaf, Watsonia, Bishop Lavis, and Imikawi. So there are 8 teams, folks. There's 8 teams in the. What we do need though, Faisal, is a name change. Yes. We certainly can't call it and obviously from our perspective, we think that to get more players in there, they need more exposure, these clubs. So these clubs need more TV.
Yeah.
So we think that the name of this league should either be the Cape Rugby TV League or the TV League or something like that.
No, definitely. I think if they're going to get some TV coverage and going to get more TV coverage, I think definitely. I think what we're trying to do is promote these clubs. And if you look at it, it's a fantastic league. Everything is exactly the same, like you would be playing in the Northern City and Southern League. The only difference is with this league is you play with 2. The same discipline, the same competition format and rules, everything applies. Right. It's just a mere fact that there's not so much a pressure to have 3 teams. And I think more than anything else, it's the building foundation for clubs. They can come out of the league, but it's up to them. I think it's them to get the groundwork in place and the foundation in place to build a club.
All right. Right, folks, that's it then for the, call it the NFD or NFL. We'll talk more about that in the weeks to come and certainly look to give exposure for that league so that more players will go and join those clubs. Let's take a look at the fixtures coming up this weekend. Unimil up against SK Warmers, Primrose take on Paarl, NTK against Durbell, Falsbay and Tygerberg, Brackenfell and Hamiltons, those are your Super League A games. In Super League B, Young Peoples up against Belhar, Vineyards and Goodwood, Rangers and Belleville, Helderberg Hamlets, Franschhoek Busy Bees, Collegian St George's, All Saints up against Macassar. In the city, in the Super League C, it's Young Wesleys and Strand. Peniel Villages take on Hands and Hearts. Morningstar and Scottsdene. That's going to be a cracker of a game this weekend. Manenberg Rangers take on Strand United. Lunga are up against Kylemore. Kraaifontein and Wraithby, and Blue Jets are up against Elsies Rivier. Western Zebras take on Caledonian Roses in the City League, Watsonia and Perseverance. Of course, that fixture moves into the NFL. Violets take on Police, and then Progress are up against Hamadias, while Gardens and Silver Tree, that match itself will also be postponed this weekend. In the Southern League, Young Stars up against CPUT. Young Brothers, Noordlikers, Thistles and Atlantis, Retreat and Rocklands. Expect a big game there. Peninsula up against Titans. In the Northern League is Windmill United up against Albions. Van der Stel Evergreens take on Delft. Strand Pioneers take on Solarians. Stelkor up against Khayelitsha. Imikawi Esterrivier, that match moves into the Non-Fulfillment League. And then Blakes are up against Whistling Wheels. In the Simonsburg region, we see Fora up against Visante Kraal, Excelsior up against Gordon Leopards, and then of course in the Paarl region, Young Standards take on Lower Paarl, Young Gardens up against Riverstones, Peril United up against Simondium, and Paarl Rangers up against Allendale. Some big matches there in the Paarl region. Look out for Simondium, at least for Riverstones. They're on the climb in the Paarl region. And of course, Allendale will be looking to bounce back as they take on Paarl Rangers. Lower Paarl and Paarl Rangers sitting at number 1 and 2 on the log at the moment. And a great performance from Riverstones the previous weekend, which pushed them up on the log. Allendale took a bit of a knock, but they'll be ready to climb back up. Faisal Felton, thanks so much for joining me here on the show. Always a pleasure having you on the show and finding out about the ins and outs of Western Province Rugby.
No, definitely, Japes. I think it's great being here and hope to see you again soon.
Yeah. Right, folks, that is a wrap from us here at Cape Rugby TV. And just please spare a thought for the folks that are out there in this cold. Winter is getting cold. It's not bitterly cold, but it is very cold out there. I think everybody is struggling a little bit with the weather at the moment. We look forward to more rain, but just spare a thought for the folks out there that maybe don't have the kind of shelter that you do and are cold out there. Anyway, that's a wrap from us here at Cape Rugby TV. We'll see you again next week, same time, same place. It's going to be a very exciting rugby weekend. Bye-bye. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Score Energy Drinks, MChem 24-hour Pharmacy, and Dulux Maitland.